This morning, we seek to answer the eternal question.
How do you get your kids to clean their room? How do you incentivize it? How do you have this discussion without it turning into World War III? Well, I don't know because I had World War III at my house over the weekend. So I've invited the expert, Wee Young from Miomo. He's the executive director and parenting coach. Thank you for joining us today. Hopefully I can glean some wisdom from this conversation.
Morning, guys. Good to be back.
Would have to say, too, probably the first time you've ever heard this problem. Right? Like,
Oh,
who else has a dirty child?
No, I'm so sorry, Kat. You're the only one in this entire world.
So how do we handle something like this? Because, again, my mum was on my case about it. I know I just got all kind of snotty when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
How can we have this conversation?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing with children is that they change from year to year. And I work a lot with teens and now more so with, family with tweens. But the first 12 years of a young person's life, you literally do everything for them. There's no conversation really needed. But as they begin to come into their own, they have opinions, they have thoughts and so forth, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So one of the things that I always say to parents is that around the ages of 13 or 14, their ears start to dull to our voices. So I think there are different ways to start conversations with them, and it depends on the ages.
Well, the problem is I've got two daughters sharing a room.
Yep.
One is 9 and one is 12.
Yep.
And I imagine the dimming effect is happening with the 12-year-old. She's already starting to tune out,
ages.
roll her eyes and glaze over and start singing songs in her head when I'm talking to her.
Yes.
But trying to get them to understand that they are going to benefit from this process is really difficult because even over the holidays, I remember last year, we shut up shop. They'd finished school for the year. I said, make sure you put your uniform away tidily so you know where it is for next year. Did they do that? No. Lost half the uniform by the time January rolled around. I had to go and buy new PE clothes. I was like, this is not happening going forward. And so trying to start the year with a clean slate, they just didn't seem to get it. And they said to me, they're like, Mum, you're just over the top. It's not even that messy, but actually filthy.
So what would you do, Wee Young?
Yeah, I think there's two things. There's a difference between cleanliness and tidiness. And so over the years, because I've had two boys and they're about 18 months apart, so we gave up on tidiness, like perfect tidiness a while ago, but just make sure that it's clean. That's the first thing. Second thing is consequences. So for example, our kids, often we would talk to them about, being tidy, being on time and all these types of things. And when they don't listen, guess who jumps in there? Myself or my wife, right?
We save the day too many times.
Yeah, so you were saying, Kat, earlier about how, Mum, where's my uniform starting school? You're like, I don't know. Go find it, right? And so if one of your kids is the one that has lost her uniform under the bed and it's been there all summer, then she's going to start having a panic. And the next time she comes across it, then she'll be the one that goes, I think I need to tidy my room, just like Mom said.
Do you think that I should just basically not go and help them out, like not help them find their stuff, let them go to school dressed in the wrong stuff and let them face that embarrassment rather than trying to help them solve the problem?
I think so. I think it's one of those things where, you pick your battles. There's certain things where they're sick, we jump in there, right? There's life and death situations, we jump in there. But I think often it's so much easier to do it for them, like you don't have to think, you don't have to cringe. So I think blindfolds are good, right? Buy each other blindfolds for birthdays. Like don't look, walk past the room, just keep walking.
The embarrassing thing though is when other people come around to your house and they walk past your kids' room and you're like, we'll just shut that door.
Yeah.
I think it might be worthwhile thinking too about one of the things that makes us intervene on other people's behalf, even when it's not a kid, like just another person, is that sometimes it is actually how it affects us or maybe how we might feel we're perceived. So we're not really even reacting about their behavior. It's the story we've constructed about ourselves. What a person sees, they behave like this, that reflects on me. Now I look like a slob.
Correct.
And that's really what's bothering me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when our kids were a lot younger, we went from double income, no kids for 5 years, and then suddenly we had 2 kids in 2 years.
Oh, so your house went from immaculate to complete dump.
100%. I remember going up to Bunnings and buying a massive tarps and lifting.
Oh, wow.
You know where this is going. We lifted our dining table or put the tarps underneath, and then the food scraps fall on the thing because, a carpeted house. And we're like, who cares? We'll sweep it off. And then we had friends coming over from church and just, neighborhood and stuff. And they're like, what's the tarps for? And I said, well, food scraps. And they started cracking up. There was no judgment at all.
Yeah.
They actually started doing the same.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, because other families with kids, they're not going to judge you, right? Like, because they know, they understand. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, I have another question for you, and it's a little bit off topic, but it's also something I encountered over the weekend as I was going through my kids' room, and I was looking through my daughter's phone to try and find some information, a screenshot that I'd taken, and I found some pictures on her phone of her 3 besties all flipping the bird. And I thought, wow, that is outrageous, because we don't do that in our household.
Right,
we don't swear. We don't do those kind of gestures to one another. Yet my daughter was taking pictures of her friends, and I kind of overreacted a little bit, and I was like, this is not okay.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you friends with these people? What's going on? Something needs to change. I'm taking your phone away. How do you approach these sorts of situations? What do you think is a better way to react?
Yeah, good. I'll answer the question with 2 questions. Firstly, what are you doing looking at her phone? And secondly, does she know?
That I was looking at her phone.
Yeah.
Yes, she does know.
Okay,
she gave it to me.
Yes. Look, I think that's good, because I would say, in terms of devices and using of social media and so forth, the biggest advice I tell parents is that have an agreement with them. Start with the end in mind. So I have social media, digital use, gaming agreements with my kids. They're literally plastered on their wall, and so we start by going, okay, so we're going to let you have access to a phone, social media, so on and so forth, and this is what's acceptable and this is what's not acceptable. What do you think? We give them an opportunity to think about, well, I shouldn't do this and this and this. And then I actually physically get them to sign it. And then they forget about it. And when situations like what you've just come across in the weekend comes up, you kind of gently pull out the contract and go, hey.
Nice.
Right? So it's not like, but Mom.
No surprises.
Yeah, no surprises. So it's like adults, we sign contracts for everything. And we sometimes think that, kids can't. They have to wait till they're 16 before they. But actually, it's that whole thing of setting expectations.
Well, actually, you've reminded me of something too that I've noticed you can do with very small children all the way through to older ones, is that people actually do, and I mean this for kids as well, they do actually kind of know how they're supposed to be behaving. Because like you said, if you said, okay, I'm going to give you a phone, what do you think's acceptable?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, like in the instance you gave, Kat, most kids would know, well, you probably, is this okay? Oh, no, probably not. What language should we use? Should we speak like this? No, probably not. So you're kind of encouraging in some ways that they know they have this conscience, this moral voice. So actually listen to it as opposed to mum and dad having 100%. To be the consequences.
Perhaps when I return the phone to her, I should say, look, maybe you should think about what pictures you have on there. And if you're happy for the whole world to see these photos, then that's great. If not, don't have them on there.
Yes, and it's a reset, and perhaps you could take her out for a nice little drink of bubble tea and just sit down and go, hey, let's talk about this. And the key thing I always say to parents is involve them in the conversation. Don't just tell them what's expected. And I remember having a conversation with my 10-year-old about what's acceptable, and the things that he said absolutely surprised me. Like, he knew way more than I thought he knew, as you said, Andrew. So I think, and once they have the opportunity to voice out what they think, and we go, yeah, you're right, it gives them that confidence to go, you know what, I actually know right from wrong. I just need some help to, I don't know, have self-control.
And make better decisions.
yes, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and look, I know as well that you're committed to upskilling young people as well to be able to make it in the real world. Let's talk quickly about the Miomo program. If people are curious about what's going on with this and want to find out more, how do they do that? Yeah,
so miomo.com, MIOMO.com. And we've got all sorts of different things. We've got online programs for parents of teens and tweens about how to have a great relationship with them. We've got Adulting 101, which is actually for 16 and above, how to, have the skills to be able to make it in the real world. So
does it work for 40-year-olds as well?
Well, I think when I was creating the program, it was helping me.
Yeah, there you go. You're never too old to learn.
Right, yeah.
Well, if you'd like to check it out, go to miomo.com. That's MIOMO.com.
Amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.